What is going on, Panther Lair? We are talking about the Pittsburgh Panthers' home loss to the Florida State Seminoles this past Wednesday night, 75-74. Now, I want to dive into why Florida State was successful against Pitt early in the first half, very early in the second half, kind of how they used some of their defense to fuel their offense. Got 7 possessions here, so let's dive in. If you watch the game, you know that the Seminoles used a variety of zone and man against Pitt. They were pretty active in both, and I think the Panthers, who really haven't struggled too much against zone this year, ended up not being able to solve this as early as they needed to be able to. So looking at this very first possession, this is going to be a turnover. And coming out of transition here, these drag screens, so effective. But one of the themes that's going to be here is that, the Pitt guards just throughout the year have had a hard time navigating, getting skinny, stepping over screens, recognizing them. Maybe that's communication from, where the screen's being set. So could be a variety of reasons. I think it's all those reasons at any one, over the course of the year. But this drag screen, having to get over to this degree, what happens in Corin has to step up, and then there is a pretty much a soft contest there on Wiggins, who hits the 3. So here we go, another possession here in the first half. I will say Amari Witherspoon, not a terrible job. I mean, he's trailing here, and honestly, if the ball handler just takes this route, because Corin is already going to have to be sinking, so it really comes down to what Barry Dunning Jr. is going to do coming out of this cluster. But it looks like he's going to stun and come back. Now, if this just turns out to be a hang, dribble, and drive, I think this is successful here. But ultimately, Pitt was able to kind of reset, no damage done. But right here, this is another thing that the guards have just not been amazing at over the course of the season, and that is kind of understanding positioning, when they should be in gap, so forth. And so this is going to be evidence of that. And you'll see there's really not a reason here for Witherspoon to maybe not position himself this way. I think he could be in gap, right? But if you're going to stunt and try to help out of the strong side corner, that's very unlikely. So I don't think that he should cheat off a lot. But what ends up happening here is when the ball comes right back, maybe he expects Corin to be here on the backside. So maybe this is on Corin. But the reality is you're pretty much conceding baseline with the way he's positioning in the way that he closes out. Closes out at a weird angle because that's kind of where he was positioned. I don't really know. Maybe there's a better route here. Tries to stride, but I mean, he immediately is lost. This is now lost. 1 dribble, 2 dribbles in. This is a losing game. Corin does kick over. Now, another thing with gap. So, at this point, because of all the handoffs here, now, Corin is pretty much on here, here. Nosius Indrusitis here. DeMarco Minor here. But with Corin helping over, Indrusitis sliding over to take the 1 pass away, and then Minor kicking down here to split the difference in gap is probably correct. And then maybe Dunning Jr. be ready to bump over, while Witherspoon maybe hands back off and comes back out. So, I mean, this is all how to rotate defensively. I mean, Indrusitis not the worst. I think he just kind of bites for the pass that could be out here to his guy. And, again, because of that, he doesn't have a good angle to really contest out on a right-handed shooter. And we get 3 in from the corner, I think, McCray. All right, so here we go. This is at the end, or no, this is the still halfway through the first half. Now, the screen nav here is not too bad. You're going to see they do a lot of twisting. They do on these screens. You're going to see another twist here. And the guys do a pretty good job holding up. What happens here is it breaks down in this 2-man game. Witherspoon gets screened, doesn't get quite over, so now he's trying. He's going to force Corin to step up to have to contain this, and then it's going to be a pitch back. Now, at the end of this, it looks like Corin is contesting, but Wiggins has a really good look here. I mean, I think this is a semi-contest. I mean, Wiggins is not really bothered at this point, right? It's not right in his face. Good look. Ends up being a 3. Okay, this is where I thought I'd be at the very end of the first half here. This is just bad communication. I'm going to back this up real quick, or at least not identified. Roman Cialepa is saying, hey, this is how we're going to handle it. It communicates out. You take this guy here. He's going to sprint up here. So Indrusitis lays into him a little bit. I don't mind the physicality, but abandons him quickly and abandons him going into the screen situation. Now, Cialepa, I think, sees this. So he's going to step up to defend. But I don't think this is played well because now you have Cialepa closing out, wins that at least at the point of attack. But this is a mismatch. You're not going to help out a strong side corner. That was kind of the first, or the clip involving Witherspoon. All right, here we go. Very beginning of the second half. Right? Now, a lot of this now comes down to bad shots that turned into offense for the other team. Step back jumper, Minor can get that at any time on any possession. That's often how he shoots the ball anyways. And here we go in transition. No need for a drag. But because this is early in the clock here, early coming out of transition, and Corin's trying to find his guy, unlike the game against Cal where they were able to be like deep and try to curtail penetration, I mean, that's something that could be done here, right? Like, instead, you could have Corin run to the free throw line and then play up as opposed to trying to just match up coming out of it. This happens really fast, though, but he's just not in the great position, and now you have a guy going against the smallest player on the floor. Here we go. This is going to be another bad shot. Really like Cialepa, but this is so deep. I mean, like, to be able to finish as a 6'6" player here against all this length and athleticism, it's just not going to happen. Maybe he gets his body in, but you're asking him to get the body into two guys. Probably unreasonable. So, Florida State, they're going to go the other way. And I kept these in here a little bit longer just because I wanted to show, one, the shot attempt on Pitt's part, but also kind of the design and execution that Florida State's going to run in a lot of occasions. You can clearly see some good design here. I mean, this is going to be a rip screen. This is going to put the Panthers in a position they're going to have to make decisions here, right? Are they going to switch this? Is Dunning Jr. going to kick out and this player get handed off to Witherspoon? How are they going to do this? So they're not great communication, so Dunning Jr. proceeds to stay with his own guy. Well, Witherspoon was going to switch off to this guy, and because of that, it frees Dunning Jr.'s original player, Wiggins, who was hot, for an easy three. Here we go. This is going to be an elevator screen. So they're going to switch, they're going to hand off. So now you have Corin on a guard. And what comes out of that, though? Good communication. So you hand him off to Dunning Jr. But now you have Wiggins. He's going to kick out to the perimeter with Corin on him. And because of the way this set was designed, now you have four Seminoles sitting on the other side of the court, completely on the weak side. So you have a pump fake. It's going to get Corin to commit. And now you have a good ball handling forward with Witherspoon as the only low man here, option to defend, and that doesn't go down. So a little bit longer than usual, but I wanted to break down, just some of the pain points here as we get towards the end of the year that the Panthers were facing, why things weren't successful. And when you think they did make a really good comeback, that's going to be later on in this article. I don't know if I'll do a voice overlay for that or not. Pitt might be a little bit better than an 11-win team and just a 4-conference win team. I don't know. They've lost some in small margins, but, these are the kind of things that ultimately add up. So when you lose a game by 1 point, granted, it could have been 4 points if Minor doesn't hit that heaving three. These things can really add up over the course of the game. And so breaking them out, kind of talking about how, Florida State was able to pull ahead, and a lot of that is just taking advantage of, the Panthers' mistakes along with, executing well on the offensive end.